All right, good evening. Welcome to the June 3rd, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting of the Exeter Township School Board. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Fike, could you take roll call, please?
Jason Mill,
Here.
Julia Schaefer,
Present.
Deborah Bloom, Dr. Andrea Battler,
Here.
John Fiddler,
Here.
Dr. Ann Herring,
Present.
Timothy Morgan,
Here.
Travis Odom,
Here.
Allison Wilson,
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fike. In addition to the 8 board members in attendance this evening, we're also joined at the board table by our solicitor, Sharon Montaigne, and members of the school district administration, including Dr. Christy Haller, superintendent, Mrs. Dawn Harris, assistant superintendent, Dr. Josh Hoyt, director of teaching and learning, Mrs. Diane Skornovaki, director of human resources, and Mr. Brian Fike, who serves as our business administrator and board secretary. The meeting minutes are attached. Does anyone have any changes or discussion they would like to make regarding meeting minutes for the May 6, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting or the May 19, 2025 Board voting meeting? Okay. We will not be amending the agenda tonight, and no one has signed up for public comments on agenda items unless someone would like to come up and speak. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to committees, starting with education with Mrs. Wilson.
Okay, the first thing on our agenda will be conference requests, and there are 2 that will be listed there. Any questions? All right, the next thing will be disposal of Latin textbooks that are outdated and no longer a part of the curriculum. Our next item on the agenda is going to be to purchase the Albert High School site license for 1,300 students at a cost of $11 and $10 per student for a total of $15,730. This cost does include the site license and the pro upgrade, and it will be purchased with Title IV funds. When I met with Dr. Hoyt today, he did share that this is a purchase that this license will be in lieu of a different one that we used in the past, and he might want to talk a little bit about that. So it is new, but it is replacing something else that we used previously.
So thank you, Mrs. Wilson. As you recall, a year ago, we brought to the board a 1-year license for a product called Castle Learning, which was going to be a tool we were going to use for common assessments, assessment and data analysis, and through working with them and just with some of the things that we saw with it, we wanted to go in a different direction. So this product, Albert IO, what it does is it provides access when a student has a license to AP content, Keystone content, so your Keystone literature, Keystone biology, Keystone Algebra 1, as well as ACT and SAT prep coursework, assessments, questions, and content for students. So this is a product we're really excited about for the high school. So every student now, once if we move forward with this, will have access to the entire library of what this product offers. We had a couple teachers. Dr. Alcaro did a great job working with department leaders and some teachers to pilot this and to put things into place. There was a lot of buzz about it. So a lot of teachers were saying, hey, can we really move forward with this? It's really helping our kids. We really like what it's able to provide for our students in the classroom. So this is a product that would replace Castle. And myself, having looked at it, it's very user-friendly, and it provides tremendous access for our students who are enrolling in any of the AP courses, as well as we get a lot of questions about how can we help our child prepare for the SAT or the ACT or those types of assessments as they're starting to look for post-secondary education plans. And every student then would have access to that where they could work on this with, like I said, lessons and questions that are aligned to that. So anybody have any questions with regards to it?
What's the, mine was simple. What's the current cost of Castle?
This is a cost savings of roughly $2,500. But this is paid through federal funds through Title IV. So this is not something that's coming out of the general budget. This is something that does aligned with our Title IV funds and the buckets that they call them, that are allowable expenses.
Josh, I'm curious to know if you have talked to your counterparts in other districts who've used this and what they have to say about it.
Almost every, actually, I'm going to put him on the spot, but Dr. Alcaro's been doing a lot of work with it. The majority of the districts in Berks County have already been using this product.
I don't know if this is on. Hi. Yes, many other districts within the county already use this product. Within our district, we had 7 teachers at the high school already using it. This past year, we had 180 students who already had licenses for this product, who answered somewhere over, I think, 30,000 questions within Albert. So this is just an expansion of an already existing product that we're using that's just going to see wider usage at the high school. But really it was the teachers that drove this because they just kept asking for more access because they were seeing the benefits of this product.
Thank you.
More of a question regarding the financial aspect in regards to the title funds. Have we heard any changes to title funds from the federal level?
Right now, all we know is what they're talking about will not affect Title I, but it possibly will affect Title II through IV funds.
Okay. So would that potentially impact the costs that we have, or do you think that would be future budgets that we would?
I think it would be future budgets.
Okay.
It's not this coming year, it's future, because they've
Yes.
already did
Okay.
the allocations for
Okay, that was ultimately my
September of
question. So
2025.
we're already locked in at least for the next school year.
I would not look at budgeting for Title II to IV the following year,
Okay.
just to be safe.
Okay.
Yeah, our allocation should be coming any day now. So when I was with the federal programs monitors last week, we were monitored. I asked about that, and they said it would be 26, 27 at the earliest, where if there were any changes, but they themselves are unsure at this time as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. And I just did want to point out, in case we didn't say it, that is for all students 9th through 12th grade. That's who would be getting that license. The next thing on our agenda, it is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the purchase of a 6-year license for AP Environmental Science textbooks, and the textbooks will be purchased with budgeted funds. This goes with our AP Environmental course, and it is it's a book recommended by the College Board.
I see I'm getting call-outs now. It actually says in parentheses that it's been reduced for shipping costs. Appreciate that. I do want to say great job because, I mean, we have seen sometimes 10 to 20% shipping and handling charges, and this is down to 5%, so appreciate that.
Any other questions? Okay, I think Dr. Battler has the book, if, we can pass it around, too.
Yeah, the book and the AP curriculum are being passed around. It is aligned to the AP units of study. As you recall, this is a new course, so we're really excited for this. It's a very popular course. I can tell you my experience as a math science person, so we're excited to have our kids have this opportunity, and I appreciate the work that Mariana Lake and the science department, Dr. Alcaro, did to make this happen, and appreciate the board's support in supporting this new course.
Okay, the next two things on our agenda are agreements. Are these just renewals?
I was going to say, do you want me to roll through E, F, G, H, I, J, and K?
That would be awesome.
Oh, you got it. So E is a renewal for our Lakeside agreement. Just a reminder for everyone that that is our agreement that helps support our students with special needs who need services in social skills instruction and counseling and self-regulation instruction. If you recall as well, we've been able to reduce that contract over time as our programming has gotten better and better, and our students have received more targeted interventions. We have less students needing that service. In addition to that, we have students who are moving through those services more quickly and mastering IEP goals because of the high quality of service. So thank you to Mrs. Leonard for negotiating that contract again for this upcoming school year. Our Bucksmont agreement, again, this is a renewal and a reminder that that's one of our out-of-district placements that we utilize. It is one where you are required to purchase slots ahead of time in order to be able to utilize that placement. Again, a reminder that is one of our most highly collaborative placements, most therapeutic, and one that we have great success with in terms of our students returning to us, which is always ultimately the goal. Next one, tuition agreement for Access Learning Academy. Again, a renewal, and again, an out-of-district placement that we utilize, just locking in the agreement of those terms for the upcoming school year. BCIU agreement, again, a renewal, a reminder that this is the annual breakout of special education services that are available through the IU and their rates. So basically what you're approving is the acceptance of their rates should we need to utilize any of those services. Next one, our Inspired Wellness Agreement. I'm actually going to have Mrs. Leonard come up and talk about this one a little bit, because what you're not going to see on the agenda over the next upcoming months is that Caron Foundation contract that you used to see with us for SAP services. Instead, we've decided to head in a new direction with SAP services and collaborate with Inspired Wellness on those services. We were already utilizing Inspired Wellness, if you recall, for our counseling groups for students who required that level of need and service. This year, they were able to get themselves SAP certified. They went through the process. So they are now the second provider in the county who is able to offer that service to districts. Remember, SAP service is your student assistance program. You're mandated by the state to have one of those. I'm probably going to say everything that you want to say, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. But we are very excited about this partnership with Inspired Wellness because it's very important to us that our students have this service that is consistent over time. As you know, with a lot of the outside organizations that we've worked with, consistency in staffing has been an issue since COVID. The one organization where it has not been an issue has been with Inspired Wellness. And the feedback from our counselors and our families regarding the quality of service that our kids are receiving has just been across the board positive and just rave reviews. So we are exploring this new partnership with Inspired Wellness, increasing their contract to include the SAP services, and we will not be utilizing Caron Foundation this year for that upcoming service. Now you can fill in everything I missed.
Well, the only thing I would say is that we came under budget too, so they really helped us out. It's their first year doing it. They knew what we wanted. They put together a letter of agreement and a contract, and I went back to him and was like, I don't really like this. Like, this doesn't really look like what we've seen in the past. And they took it back and like reworked it for us and like cut costs. And the other thing that's really great about it is that it's a master's level therapist. So we have someone that has a licensed to do therapy. Now, they're not going to be doing that, but they have that license, which is also really nice. We've never had that. Caron didn't require that, so you just had to have a bachelor's degree to be a SAP liaison with Caron, and now with Inspired Wellness, you have master level providers. So in the county, I believe we're the first to go with them this year, but there's 2 other districts that are also exploring their contracts to go with them. So it's nice to have a choice. Way back when we had a choice. You could go with Caron Treatment Centers, you could go with the Reading Hospital Center for Mental Health, and you could go with PA Counseling. Those were the 3, and that's when I started. in 2000. So there was a ton of providers at that time. And then over the years, everyone dropped off and it was just Karen. So you could only go with Karen. So it's nice now that Inspired Wellness took this on and we have an option and school districts can choose what they want to go for. That's it.
Any questions for Mrs. Leonard before she sits back down? Oh, go ahead, Mr.
Just
Goodman.
one, how many students will this serve?
So in the past, Karen was serving 7th through 12th, and then we were supplementing with Inspire Wellness. But now in this new contract, Inspire Wellness will service K through 12 again. So it'll be a 5-day contract. They'll be in every single building. Some buildings more than others, so they're in the junior high and the high school more than they're in the elementary buildings, but that makes sense because of what they're providing. So we have anywhere from around, they say that you have about 5 to 10% of your population in each building is a SAP referral. And we have roughly around 200 to 300 SAP referrals in each building. Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, I'm going to keep going.
Can I back up real quick?
Yeah, no, sir.
Sorry, for F. Is F prorated based on the number of students, Bucksmont?
So Bucksmont is one where we purchase the slots. Let me just open it up real quick.
Because it says it's for 7 to 12 students, so do we pay that price whether we have 7 or 12
That's
students?
grades 7 through 12.
Okay, that's important to know.
Yep, they do not serve K through 6 students, they only serve grades 7 through 12.
And do we know how many students that's for?
It should say the number of slots in there, which I just don't remember off the top of my head. And I don't think any of my, do you remember, Alicia, how many slots we bought? It's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But I would have to reread it to find it.
And this is an actual out-of-district placement, correct?
Yes.
And this includes transportation?
No, we do the transportation.
And what's the added transportation cost? Do we know that?
I don't, because that depends on what route.
Most of the time, it's been our
she's-
own drivers.
Yeah,
but-
it's our own transportation. It's usually our own buses.
Well, vans.
But that would depend on
Yeah.
how she routes it every year and
Right.
how many kids are on there and that kind
I
of.
just think it's important that we point it out, especially with us being around budget time, when we think about how much an in-district cost is per student.
Yeah.
And without transportation, we're looking at $45,000 per student
Correct.
per year.
Correct.
And that doesn't include the cost of transportation.
Correct. And just to keep in mind too, with transportation, it's not one vehicle going to one placement. So for example, there might be 3 out-of-district placement programs on one route that the Director of Transportation is routing.
Right.
So it just all depends on, like I said, on how her routes go and how many kids fit on that particular vehicle and how many are going to that number of placements.
Understood. Thank you.
We do still have, so there used to be several out-of-district placements that would do their own transportation. That really went by the wayside during COVID. I think we still have one. I think Cottage 7 still does their own transportation, but I think that might be the only one. Okay. Which one was it? Oh, okay, so River Rock is just like the Bucksmont agreement. Again, you're paying for a predetermined number of slots at River Rock. Otherwise, you are not able to access them as a placement. They are the only AEDY placement in the county, meaning that if you have students who need to be placed for significant disruptive behaviors like bringing weapons on campus, drug trafficking, things like that, particularly for regular education students, this is really one of the only placements that you can access. And then Austin's agreement, again, a renewal.
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you one more question,
That's
just
okay.
because I'm trying to figure this out.
Go ahead.
Can you, so this says it's for 2 slots.
Yes, we
And-
do not utilize River Rock as much as we utilize.
So just
Bucksmont.
out of curiosity, just so I can understand it, when we look at Bucksmont versus River Rock, there's a huge disparity in cost per student. Can you explain why that is?
Because they are allowed to charge whatever they would like.
And we don't have
There's
control
no
over
governor,
that.
no, there's no governor on that, and there's no opportunity to negotiate those types of contracts. So these out-of-district placements, if I don't take the slots, 10 other districts will take the slots. So they're so highly competitive that there's no opportunity for an individual district to be able to go in and say, I don't like your price, I'd like a better deal, like you can do with things like textbooks and shipping and things like that.
But you wouldn't say that Bucksmont is providing a higher level of service than River Rock is?
They provide different kinds of services. So again, River Rock is an AEDY placement primarily, that's what we utilize it for. Bucksmont provides a more therapeutic service. They serve different types of needs for students. But they both happen to be prepaid slot programs. Usually by January of the school year, if we have a student who needs an out-of-district placement, we are on a wait list at all of our placements. And if you think about the number of programs that you see me put on here for approval for contracts like the CCIU and Devereaux and River Rock and Bucksmont and on and on and on and on, even with all of those placements, we're still on a wait list because there's that high of a need and a demand for students to get specialized services and to have intensive needs met off campus. That's why it's a supply and demand issue. That's why there's no opportunity for school districts to negotiate these.
And this doesn't fall under the cyber charter school budget?
No.
This is in addition to the $2 million or whatever it
This
is?
this is special education.
Right.
This is within the special education budget.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the good news is that we've been able to manage our special education costs, at least over the last 5 years. We've been able to keep our special education budget in terms of programs and services relatively flatlined, which has been a huge challenge. But, you know, thanks to people like Mrs. Leonard and our special ed supervisors who are coming up with creative ways to work programming and to solve problems, we've been able to do that. I knock on wood because that's not always the case, even in good times, right? Even pre-COVID, it was very difficult to keep a district's special education budget sort of intact and not growing and growing and growing. You've heard Dr. Holler talk over and over again about the unfunded mandates and the disparity between what we receive for special education funding versus what it actually costs us to provide those services by law. And because we want to, and we want to serve those students in our communities. But so far, you know, we've been able to do that in a manageable way. So.
Mrs. Harris, are these slots filled already? Do we have students that we know?
Currently, yes.
Okay.
So some of them will carry over to next year. Sometimes they're filled by kids who are graduating, and so those slots will remain open for a little bit in the beginning of the year until we have a student who demonstrates a need. The way we determine the number of slots is just simply by us looking at our historical data and looking at how many we utilize each year, how many we fill, when we fill them. And then also, because particularly at our secondary level, they have that tracking system for kids that we've talked about before, where they keep track of our at-risk kids. They also have a good handle on, okay, we have these kids in placement now, but we have these kids that keep coming up on our radar. Our interventions that we have at the high school aren't working. You know, this may be a student who, in another month, we may be having a discussion about an out-of-district placement.
Okay.
So it's kind of
yeah.
how we figure it all out.
So if we had the need for 3 slots, you know, at River Rock, would we be able to get that or not necessarily?
This is it.
This is all we can get?
This is it. That's
Okay.
the challenge with the programs that are prepaid slots. You must purchase them ahead of time, and you have to make a decision about how many you're going to purchase and look into that sort of crystal ball with that help of data and say, okay, I think this is how many we're going to need this year. You could obviously err on the side of like purchasing a lot just in case you needed them, but that isn't very fiscally responsible. So there are placements that are not prepaid slots. Those are the ones we generally end up on the wait lists for, and you know, we work our relationships to try to get kids in when we need those placements. other questions about those? Go ahead, Mr. Fiedler.
I've asked this so many times, I know what the answer is. But just to confirm, we use these because we don't have the professional staff that can
Correct.
deal with these kids. Okay.
You-
So what?
you got it.
What happens then if a student doesn't get one of these slots? We don't have what they have. How then do we help that child
Mm-hmm.
if we don't have the people that Bucksmont and all the others have?
It's a
What
great-
happens to that child?
That's a great question. So we do a lot of creative problem solving. We try to develop individualized programs. In the past, you have done things like even hired an individual teacher to help manage that student's, behaviors and needs and increase staffing. We increase paraprofessional support. If it's a student who has mental health needs, we work with the family to help find them mental health treatment. That might be hospitalization, that might take them out of the educational system for a little bit. There's a whole laundry list of things that we do. We try to set up instruction in the home for families to be able to push in to provide some education. We ultimately end up, working with families to create a successful program and often get into those out-of-district placements then, after a couple of weeks. But it is about the team figuring out, how to still provide an education even when an option that you're currently looking at isn't currently available, how to recreate that option elsewhere. So we do a lot of creative problem solving that way.
I'll bet. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. But to answer the original part of that, least restrictive environment, which is a legal term for a student's ability to access the educational environment and curriculum and all those things. It's a big, long continuum. With the least restrictive part of that being in the regular education classroom all day long. And then the most intensive, most restrictive part of that is when students require something that we're not able to offer on a public campus. And that's what school districts utilize those out-of-district placements for.
Okay, good, thanks.
I think, yeah, Austels that's a renewal. That's for additional speech OT PT services as we need them. And I think that's it for me, right? Oh, our pool council agreement with Sweet Stevens. This is different than your regular solicitor agreement. Again, a renewal. Just a reminder that we utilize that particularly in special education and pupil services for additional training time for staff with our solicitor, with our special ed legal counsel. It also gives us unfettered access to Mr. Warner with any type of special education legal question that's not directly related to an individual student that we want to ask. So if we want to send him 10 general legal questions a day, we can. There's no limit under this agreement. Did I miss anything, Ms. Montaigne?
I don't think so. I would just offer that I think you manage your special ed costs by being proactive with Tom Warner.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that's it.
All right. So that is everything from the Education Committee. So we will be moving all of those items forward to the voting meeting.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Mel. First up, we have the first look at the final general budget for 2025-2026. A couple reminders, the total budget is $89,314,814. That will be at a 3.5% tax increase at a millage of 37.0024 mils. And as a reminder to everyone, as we went through our options over the last several months, that is taking out one teacher through attrition. We are removing the high school librarian and moving her to a teaching position, and we will be keeping the per capita tax. Anybody have any questions? I just wanted to relate something to the board as we were having our discussion earlier with special services. If you have interest on page 14 of the breakdown of the budget, maybe Mr. Fike can help me out here. But section 1200 refers to special programs, which is what we've been talking about here over the last 20 minutes. and it's a $15,785,562 ticket on the general budget. And I was wondering if Mr. Fike could break down what subsection 300 and what subsection 500 specifically go to.
Sure. Now, what Dawn was just talking about was pretty much the 300 section, which is purchase professional services, purchasing slots for students, the psychologists, the social workers, things like that. And that alone was 1.6 million, or 1.678, almost 1.7 million. And then other purchase services would be like private school tuition, and the charter schools, we spend roughly 2.8 million.
Yeah, and charter schools are not included in any of.
Correct.
Correct, in the agreements, because that by law we have to pay. You know, and that could vary each year by number of students and number of special ed.
Yep. And I just think it's important as we start to break down these numbers and really understand where the dollars are going, how much goes into that subsection right there.
And there's other things where we have individuals, you know, hearing, speech therapy, you know, where we bring those services into, they're part of some of these other contracts we have.
And I was going to say, too, in past years, we talked about our special ed population is 18%? Is that?
We're really close to 21 now.
Oh, 21.
The state average has also increased, so we're right sort of in there with the state average. It did increase post-COVID.
Okay, so 21% of our students is with that budget line, and then 79% with the 35 million. That makes sense, yeah.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, B, if you remember when we approved the budget, there's two sections to this. The first thing that we'll vote on is the actual budget. The second thing we'll vote on is the millage, which is what gives you the tax increase. So B is for the real estate millage, which again will be at 37.0024 mils, equating to a 3.25% tax increase. Anybody?
Yeah, probably more so a question for the budget, but I'll put it in here. Have we heard anything in regards to what the state funding looks like?
Right now, it looks like they're still talking the same budget that the governor put in there. I don't see any increases. I
Okay.
don't see any decreases yet, but, you know, a lot can happen between now and June 45th or whenever they decide that. If they go into July, what we expect is they will go into July before
Okay,
they pass the
so
budget.
they're going to miss the deadline, like always?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so is it fair to say the chances are pretty slim that we're going to see any additional funding to move this percentage increase down?
I would say very slim.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I do know I've been following the new House Bill 1500 that's going in for the cyber charter reform, and it looks like it is down party lines, at least when it was in the Education Committee. And eventually, I'm assuming soon it'll get a vote to the State House, but do we know if that's, or has there been any discussion of potentially any cyber charter reform making it into this next budget?
The discussion I hear is it has a better chance than it did last year. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot more groundwork and a lot more footings going on, but, you know, those can change pretty fast.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if it stays along party lines for the way it's looking, at least from the Education Committee, it was 14-12 that it passed, but it was 14 Democrats versus 12 Republicans. So obviously, if that's the way it stays, I believe there's a very slim majority in the State House on the Democrat side of one seat. However, getting it through the Senate, I think, is going to be the tougher challenge there. But yeah, I was just curious if there had been any grumblings about it. Essentially, what I have heard is they don't like the hard cap number that's being placed on there of 8,000 on that bill. But I haven't heard any potential willingness to budge or change anything at this point.
Right.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mel, with A and B having to be voted on no later than June 30th and approved, we don't have a choice, we have to have a budget. Is it the will of the board that we do a straw poll now to make sure that we have what we need in order to pass this budget? Or if it's the latter, that we have to go back and do some more work?
Yeah, I would be for doing a straw poll, essentially seeing if people, who approves the budget as is, and if there, or if there's other recommendations that the board members have in terms of expenditures or cuts.
Yeah, and I think at this point, unless we feel as though that it will be turned down, we probably don't need to go into a lengthy discussion unless somebody is interested in doing so.
Oh, I'm always up for a lengthy discussion, Mr. Morgan, but I'm okay if we don't want to do that.
Okay. Yes means leave it as is. Dr. Andrew Battler?
No.
Deborah Blooms, not here. John Fiddler?
No.
Dr. Ann Herring?
No.
Jason Mill?
Yes.
Timothy Morgan?
Yes.
Travis Odom?
Yes.
Julia Schaefer?
Yes.
Allison Wilson?
Yes.
5-3, yes.
All right, is there any more discussion about the budget or the millage before we move on? Okay, moving on. C, 2025-2026 per capita tax resolution. If you open up the attachment, it actually says that it's a $5. That threw me off at first. I called Mr. Fike. I wondered if you could give the actual explanation for that.
Yeah, actually, there's two sections per capita. There's one that falls under the Pennsylvania tax, section 679, and also under the 511 taxes. The 679 section mandates that the boards have to approve a resolution each year to keep that $5, where the section 511 has another $5 per capita, and that's the one I think Julia Schaefer brought up earlier in the year. We could actually increase an additional amount if you wanted to. So right now, we have $5 under the section 679 and $5 under Act 511 for a total per capita of $10. But the only one you have to annually pass a resolution is the 679. That under 511, you have to pass a resolution if you change any of those taxes, like your earned income tax or the per capita or the occupational privilege, those types of things. So that's why this resolution is only $679. It's only $5, but your per capita stays at $10 with the portion from the 511 taxes. Sort of confusing, but that's the state.
Anybody have any questions?
I do. So I still am not a fan of the per capita tax and keeping it, but obviously I'm going to go with whatever the majority of the board prefers here. I do have a question to the administration on how can we better ensure the standards of the per capita, that we are actually accurately billing anyone that is considered 18 and over within the school district and in the borough and the township, to ensure that the collections are as accurate as possible.
Yeah, I was actually thinking we should talk to the tax collectors because they do make commission on every bill collected, so it behooves them to collect more and maybe offer additional postage to be able to track these people down. And there are services that we can try to tie in their programs with the county, because the county has a better database than our local databases are for people that file taxes and earned income taxes.
Okay. Is that a discussion that that you would have, or are you suggesting that be a committee discussion with Mr. Morgan?
I would have that with the tax
Okay.
collectors at first, and if they have a request or additional monies they would require, because right now we do pay their expenses, but we pay their postage and their paper and, you know, mailing the bills. But if it's additional money, I'll bring that back to the board, because, you know, that's
Okay.
part of their budget's part of your budget.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
And just so you know, Mr. Mel, I actually thought it was interesting because it does say 18 and older. There is no exception for full-time students, which I was surprised by.
I think that's our policy. Like, that's the school district's policy to not tax.
But that's not the contract.
That's not the contract?
The contract says 18-year-olds living within the township or the borough. So I don't, is that,
So is what Julie's saying that we could change that?
I don't,
If that's
I
our
don't know. I
preference?
just want to make sure the board's aware that, you know, if we do decide to take further measures, that just so everyone's aware that it, I mean, I'm just looking here where it says 18. I saw it today. A per capita tax of $5 is hereby levied and assessed on each and every resident and inhabitant of the Exeter Township School District 18 years of age or over, which tax shall be in addition to any other school levied and assessed by the Exeter Township School District.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Mrs. Schaefer, if you could find that policy for administration potentially, and we could
Sure.
have a later discussion on it.
Yeah,
If we
I
need
just-
to change a policy, but.
Just wanted to make sure.
But yeah, according to the resolution that we have, it sounds like anybody 18 or over should be
Yeah.
getting the per capita tax.
I think it's just been the practice that the school district doesn't go after students who have graduated or are in school, and they wait until possibly post-college, 4 years after graduation, when they start mailing those out.
Correct. And I appreciate that, but I just, if
And
we're.
it might be an outdated,
Right.
an old policy, because a lot of students used to go away to college, so they weren't really a resident.
Sure.
But now a lot of students stay at home and go to local colleges.
But-
Absolutely.
And you're
So-
still a resident. I mean, you still pay local tax and federal, yeah, it's wherever your driver's license is
Yep.
for that period of time. I just want to make sure everybody's aware, because if we do go to the tax collectors and suggest that they're incentivized by going after people, then according to our resolution, they have the right to go after anybody that's 18 years old or older.
Yeah, I want to make my position clear. I'm not suggesting we incentivize them to go for a shakedown of people and for more tax money. I just want to make sure that whatever database that they're keeping is accurate to the point that we're receiving the most
Yep.
accurate amount of per capita tax. Yeah, definitely, I'm not
No, yeah.
suggesting
Yep.
anybody go door to door
No.
and, knock on doors and start invading homes looking for anybody 18 years or older. But
I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of the wording. That was it. All right. D, 2025, 2026 homestead, farmstead exclusion resolution. Anybody have any questions?
I do. Do we see an uptick at all in people who do register for the homestead tax exemption or exclusion? I mean, we've been kind of putting it out there that, you can get a rebate, and, how many people are actually taking advantage of this to offset the tax increase?
I've seen an uptick, but I also seen a decrease in total, and I was assuming that it's because of people moving out and new people moving in haven't been there long enough. But I do want to make note, we got something from the county today, that they've been notified that there might be a discrepancy in the assessed values of the reports they uploaded to us or for homestead, farmstead. Let's see what to say. We're waiting for further information from the county researchers on the issue. We will provide updates as soon as possible. Please be aware that the homestead and farmstead values currently in the system may need to be purged and reloaded if it is determined that a replacement file is necessary. They apologize for the inconvenience. Thank you. So right now, I see a decrease from last year, but that might not be the case because they might have given us the wrong information. So hopefully within the next week, we'll find out if it is the right information or not. So there might be a change in this resolution for the board to approve at the voting meeting. It is not our fault, but the county, I guess, I'm not sure if it's us or just the whole county that they had some files corrupted or something.
And is that the $366 that could change?
Yeah, it could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less, because it's determined by the number of homestead farm had approved applications. And that is down, the homestead's about 40, about 40 down from last year. farmsteads are about the same.
I know, like, you get the application in the mail, but you can also go on our website, download it, and.
They can come here and pick
come,
it up.
yeah, to
You
the
know, it has to be
administration
filed,
building,
I
so
think, by February
I
or
think it's
March.
worth filing, because I don't think people get denied.
Yeah. And then people on Social Security under 40,000 also have another one they can apply for through the state by February, and to get another $350 to $500.
I think it's actually, you can even get I think the max is up to 1,000, what I just saw. Representative Gillen just sent something out.
And you can get those applications directly from your representatives, but there's,
Yeah.
I think it's called the renter's rebate, but homeowners can get it too. Yep.
Any other questions? All right, moving on to E, we'll be approving the final food services budget. That's with revenue of $2,529,728 and budget expenditures of $2,529,491. That's a difference in the positive of $238. And if you look at the breakdown, the attachment, just so that everybody's aware of that 2.529728, 947,300 comes from local revenue, and then there's some state revenue at 366 and change, and about 1.2 million from federal.
Do we know how much the cost will be to our families purchasing lunches next school year?
I'm waiting for the state to come out with the equity tools, they call it, which is you have to go, charge your lunch prices. Based on last year's equity tool, it'll be a 10-cent increase for senior high and a half-cent or 5-cent increase for this primary. But I can't use last year's tool. They have to give you a new tool this year. So I'm hoping to have that by the voting meeting. And if we don't, we can always vote on that in July, because meals won't be served to end of August. And by this food service budget has nothing to do with the general fund. It's a separate standalone proprietary fund.
Mr. Fike, just a couple of questions. Two things. Number one, the salary increase. How many people did we add? It's like it's $120,000 increase in salaries.
That we added.
Last year it was 582,990. This year it's 712,662.
Right, we were pretty much understaffed last year. So positions open last year. This year we don't have any positions open, but we also increased them to a fair wage, about $15 an hour. So we hadn't had a problem filling it. There's no positions really added to it. It's just unfilled positions. And during COVID, we actually had a surplus, which we were able to buy new equipment and start to upgrade our kitchens, because during COVID, everyone was free and the federal government paid for it. Now we're back to only the people who qualified for free and reduced.
Did we have contractors when those positions were unfilled, or were just understaffed and working that way?
We were understaffed.
Okay.
And working that way.
Okay.
And the other, a couple of other questions. Purchase property service. It's a $25,000 increase over last year. What is that?
Pretty much fixing our ovens, fixing our freezers, fixing all the equipment. We're starting to replace them. This summer, we actually have an oven at Jacksonville we're replacing, but we first have to make the door wider to take the old one out to bring the new one in. So.
And then the last question, just the revenue drop of almost $400,000 from '24 to this coming year. That was all from COVID reserve, I'm assuming?
It was all from federal funding. Okay. There was commodities. You got a lot more free commodities from the federal government. Even though it's free, you count that as a revenue. Free breakfasts for everyone last year, and part of the year we had free lunches. That dropped off, so federal funding's really dropped off, and it could drop off a lot for 26, 27.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on. F, 2025-2026 Berks County Safety and Security Consortium. This is to renew the agreement to participate for $6,000. I don't know if Dr. Haller or I know Mr. Seidel's in the audience, if you guys want to talk about the importance of us renewing that. Sorry to put you on the spot, Eric.
Like you said, this is a renewal. If you look at the attachment that lists the services provided, we do take advantage of all of those. The only one that we haven't taken advantage of is the training, actually having Mr. Del Rosario come out and do our training, and that's only because, being new in this position, I tried to do that myself, build those training curriculums, but everything else we take advantage of. He comes out to drills throughout the year. I attend all the safety meetings. We actually have added virtual meetings in between the quarterly meetings to talk about things that are happening at different districts, debrief incidents, and really share ideas, share vendor information, and kind of create a safety clearinghouse within the districts here in the county.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions? All right. G, 2025, 2026 insurance coverage. Again, this is a renewal, I believe, correct?
Yes, I also did shop it. Only one other company even wanted to quote it because a lot of them were getting out of government, insuring governments. And this was the best. The existing carrier was the best.
Any questions? H is the 25-26 student sports accident insurance. Again, this is a renewal, I believe.
Yes.
I is Berks County Joint Purchasing. And that's for fuel, classroom and office supplies, and medical and nursing supplies. I think that just gives us a better rate, correct? Because we're buying larger bulk, or?
That, and we bid it out as a county instead of doing individual bids for schools. There's a cost of bidding. So.
And then finally, we have J, which is a tax assessment appeal settlement docket number. Anybody have any questions on that?
Just curious, what, do we know what triggered that assessment appeal? Is there new ownership of the building or anything, or is it just the building owner going out for, try to save some tax money?
Should I be blunt? Probably lawyers advertising.
No, this lawyer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
Mr. Mell, that concludes my report. Ms. Wilson beat me by 2 letters. We're going to be moving everything from A through I onto the voting.
A through J, right?
A through J, sorry.
All righty. Okay, thank you, Mr. Morgan. Personnel Committee, Dr. Hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mel. We'll be moving to the voting meeting, resignations, retirements, change of status, additional assignments, and leaves of absences. And I know we're not voting on this today, but we'd like to congratulate Dr. Fries on his retirement and say thank you for your 23 years of service. And that's everything.
May I also just note the other retirement on there is Kathy Cardoli, who is my confidential secretary in the Pupil Services Office. And boy, oh boy, the Pupil Services Office will not be the same without her there. She does so many things that none of the rest of us know how to do, and we're going to have to figure out before she leaves. She has been a tremendous support to so many different people in the district over the years, including the building secretaries, the special education department, the nursing staff. She's the one who's responsible for arranging all of our nursing coverage and our nursing subs. She is our primary contact for homeschooling, homebound instruction. She helps with homelessness. There's so many behind-the-scenes things that Kathy does that I know a lot of people in the district are just really, really going to be missing her for, and have been very appreciative of her help over the years with. So I just wanted to say happy retirement, Kathy.
And if I could just add, I'd just like to personally thank Dr. Freeze for giving me my start in the Exeter Township School District. He hired me to be his AP many years ago, and I think I am still the only assistant principal that has ever gotten him to kiss a cow. So for a kindness campaign that was documented and on TV, and it was, yes, Greg, that happened. So, yes, it was a lot of fun. The kids enjoyed it, and hopefully it's still one of their favorite memories. I know it's one of mine. So thank you, Greg, for taking a chance on me.
What did the cow think of all that?
The cow is still bragging about it to this day.
Well, I think the cow honestly really liked Greg, but it like head-butted me. So like Greg never let me forget that. Like he periodically brought that up.
Okay. Anything else, Dr. Hearing? Okay, thank you. We are going to go ahead and move on to athletics and extracurricular activities with Mr. Odom.
Thank you, Mr. Mell. It is recommended that Board of School Directors approve the recommendations for the changes to existing positions and additions of new positions to the CBA. There's a attachment there with the three positions there that we're looking at. Any questions?
Can we just give a little background on the game instructor? Is that esports, I guess? Is that right?
Mr. Campbell's here, so I will let him speak to that. I have been to see our esports group, and it is super fun and cool. So I wasn't invited to the pizza party, and I was very upset about that.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Could
Next
you
year.
ask your question again more specifically?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could maybe speak a little bit to the gaming club itself, and this is obviously, being that this is a new advisor position, I'm assuming this is a whole new club that's being introduced, is that
Sure.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's accurate to call it a gaming club at this point. It would be great to see if that expanded to more of a competitive esports, but they're not there at this point. This started a couple years ago under a teacher who's no longer at the district. Mr. Gould has picked that up this year and has really run with it. These students are there Thursdays and Fridays. There's anywhere from, typically I'd say 20 to 25 to 30 students that are there. They are very self-directed in terms of them organizing the games that they're playing, organizing the groups that they're doing, and it's not all electronic games. There are some Dungeons and Dragons in there, but it is a really nice group of kids, and it's a great opportunity for them to be gathering and socializing on a regular basis. And it's been highly attended on a very consistent basis. It's grown tremendously this year.
Sure, I imagine that's pretty neat. Is there? I know it sounds like it's a little premature for esports and competitive esports, but do you think that's the direction that potentially if there's enough interest with the students, that may eventually blossom into an esports?
Depending on some of those that you ask, yes.
Yeah.
I do think so.
Okay.
I think some of that requires some research on our part to understand some of those leagues that are out there and some of the commitments that may be part of that. But the games that the students are playing are in line with what some of the esports programs do, to my limited knowledge.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Do they bring in their own equipment? How does that work?
They do. And like I said, they're very well self-organized, and it's neat to see. So they bring in all their stuff. We've figured out ways for them to store things. We've provided them with some monitors that we bring in so that they can play on larger screens. It is really enjoyable.
Well, if there's ever a competition against the school board, I'm willing to sign up for a Call of Duty competition. I've been known to, tango, a little bit, and dabble in the e-sports realm, but all right, good to know.
Well, you're not the only one, because Dr. Hoyt, Dr. Alcaro, Mr. Seidel, Mr. Brown's tucking his head down. Like, There's a few that would probably team up with you, but when Mr. Campbell, yeah.
Four-person squad.
Yeah. When Mr. Campbell shared this with me and I had an opportunity to go over there and see it for myself, I was just blown away by the number of students who were in there and how excited they were and how fun it was and how welcoming, what a welcoming environment it was. And so I actually had an opportunity to meet with Ange Cook through ECEF to we had done this big Eagle's Nest project, and our goal, our partnership with ECF is really about how we can bring about opportunities for students and expand opportunities for students. And so we are currently trying to work through using EIT funds to expand this opportunity for students, because we know that the district is already putting out the money for the advisor, and that's what ECF helps us do, is they help us find other ways to fund upgrading this for our students. And because esports has gotten a lot of traction, and there are scholarships out there for students at the college level, and we would very much like our students to be able to be competitive enough to be able to take advantage of that if we can support them in that way. So thank you to Mr. Campbell for bringing this to my attention, and that we could work, see if we can work with ECEF to expand this opportunity for the kids.
I just want to add to that, because I did go on college tours last fall, and when we were doing a tour, there was an esports area, and so I was like, oh, look, because my son might like to play some video games, and they said, oh yeah, if you want to join, it's a $2,500 scholarship just for joining. So it wasn't even competitive. It was just if you join, you're going to get $2,500. So yes, it's definitely something that colleges are promoting as well.
Yes, and Mrs. Wilson's tag is GamerGirl94. You can find her on Fortnite. She's playing all night. It's very nice.
How many cups of coffee do you have today?
Mr. Milk?
Yes.
Could I just say,
Sorry.
Did you turn me off?
I was, sorry, big thumbs.
I just wanted to say a yay for the Avidum Club making the list. We've talked about Avidum Club for the last couple of years, and just, for those of you who might not know, that's our very student-driven club at the high school. That is our club for mental health awareness and advocacy and support for peers. And that whole group up at the high school has worked really hard. Those kids have worked really hard on getting that up and running, and they were the, primary drivers for our Mental Health Awareness Day that we just had back in early May. So just wanted to give a shout out to them for making the cut.
Great. Thank you.
That is all for my report.
All
Committee.
right. Thank you, Mr. Odom. Next, we're going to move on to public comments on non-agenda items. I don't have anyone signed up unless someone would like to come up and speak. Okay. We are going to move the following items to our June voting agenda. It's going to be meeting minutes 4A through L, 5A through J, 6A through E, and 7A. Also, just a reminder to the board and the public that we did discuss at the May Committee of the Whole meeting the population studies that Christopher Selmer spoke to. So that will be showing up on the voting agenda, where the board can have one final discussion and vote if we decide to proceed with with one of those studies. Are there any board members that would like to be heard at this time?
Mr. Miller, I have a couple of things.
Sure.
First of all, I just wanted to wish our students a happy summer as they exit at the end of the week, as well as to all our 2025 graduates. And whether they're going to college or tech schools, military or workforce, we certainly wish them the best of luck and thank them for their time here. Next, I was going to save this for the voting meeting for my committee report, but I thought I would just mention it now. I had the opportunity last week to attend the Exeter Community Library had an event where they brought in all of the Exeter Township and all the different departments got to give a little presentation, 6-7-minute presentation on everything they do. And that was the fire department, the police department, the community library, Parks and Rec, the business offices, and the maintenance team. And, you know, as I've been spending a lot of time going through the budget and hearing about the different services that we have here in the township as well as at the district, I just want to say it made me really proud to realize what we have here. And it does cost money, and I wish it didn't, but we are very, very lucky here in this township for what we have. And if you didn't get a chance to go, it was well worth the while, and I know there were some really nice write-ups about it, and they're doing a lot of great things here in this town, so just wanted to share how proud I was of that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ms. Maureen. Thank you for attending that also. Any other discussion?
I'd like to join my colleague Tim Morgan in congratulating our seniors, workforce, military, trade school, and I think you said college and university. I would like to tip my hat to the 72 students who had nothing listed on their Facebook mini profiles or who had undecided, a total of 72. And I think it takes a lot of courage to sort of come out and say, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I think it's also, we can look at it, I do anyway, with a very positive outlook and think, you know, that might be where the next Tim Jobs comes from. Did I get that right? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs or Tim Cook.
Yeah.
Tim Cook's his successor, so you were close.
Either one.
Yeah, it was a hybrid.
Yeah. I actually was. It was a non-Freudian slip. It might be the next, this one I won't get wrong, Toni Morrison might be in this group of 72, Nobel Prize-winning author. Having said that, I wonder if our 23% who have said they're undecided or nothing listed, is that sort of par for the course to anyone in the administration? Is that an average number? Is that higher than last year? Is that lower than last year? And if a student in that group among those 72 is maybe stuck, doesn't know what he or she wants to do, what are we prepared to do? What are we doing for those kids? So that's my question.
What are we prepared to do for students who are undecided about what they're doing? I feel like that's more of a family conversation. We provide an education for our students, K through 12. We have excellent school counselors in our buildings. We follow very rigorously the requirements of Chapter 339, where we expose children to different careers. Kindergarten through 12th grade, the junior high just had a really well-attended, great career fair. But at the end of the day, some of that has to come through family conversations as to what you would like to do with your life beyond high school, just like I did for my children. So we can help guide some of that conversation. We help students with college applications. We expose them to different opportunities. But we can't force kids to apply for post-secondary education nor apply for jobs. So that's.
But the number 23%, is that sort of on a par with other schools in the county?
I don't know.
I would imagine we'd
Yeah,
probably have to do
Tom might
that
have the
research, unless you know that off the top of your head.
Tom may.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be able to give you some specific numbers off the top of my head, but I want to start by complimenting you on carefully studying that the social media posts. I do think that is in itself a little misleading as a final indicator for what our seniors are doing. And just so you understand, that is group sourced from students as we're putting together the slideshow for graduation. In fact, this morning there were quite a few updates to that as students realized that they or their parents didn't fill in all of the information properly. So don't mistake that for our much more comprehensive Class of 25 graduation survey and all of the work that our counselors are doing throughout 4 years, but particularly in the last year, as they're getting kids ready to walk across the stage with some sort of plan. I know that there are students who fit into your category of someone who's really, truly still exploring and uncertain what they want to do with all of their talents, but I think that a much higher percentage than that 23% of undecided have a plan for what they're doing next, and not only for what they're doing next, but also for multiple years. I was just having a conversation this morning about how even looking at what students are doing in the immediate next several months or years, sometimes misleading, because more and more students are taking a look at not just a next year plan, but a multi-year plan as they're looking at community college or work and then transition. I think the next steps for high school graduates are a lot more fluid than they were even a decade ago.
Thank you. I was just curious.
Okay. Now I just want to circle back to the discussion about the per capita tax. So in section 679, so actually I should say, we have a 605 policy for tax levy, and that references section 679 and 680 of the 1949 Act 14, Chapter 6, Section 80 of the school code. But it does say that each school district may exempt any person whose total income from all sources is less than $10,000. So we can adopt that, but we don't have that specified. We just link in our policy to all of those different subsections. It also actually says that residents should be telling us whether they move in or move out as well. And then I'm understanding that to be, we also should be getting that list for our tax collector. So I don't know if that's something we can put on for another look for our policy committee to kind of look in for the future.
So does that cover us then, that we don't need to change the current resolution for next?
I would say so. As long as we're referencing those sections of the act, I think 679 and 680 maybe updated to say 680. Or not.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy to hear that.
Maybe we could leave that for the solicitor to check on.
No, I think it gives you the leeway to exempt whomever you want to exempt within those parameters,
Okay.
and not change the
The resolution?
resolution at
Okay.
all.
Perfect.
Okay.
And
Thanks
I
for
just
finding
also
that.
want to talk about, so we do have opportunities for our residents who are, I believe, 60 and older to volunteer for us starting July 1st. They can submit their applications to our Human Resource Department. Unfortunately, last year, I think we had reenacted that and publicized. We only had 3 volunteers throughout the school year. So that's volunteering 70 hours of your time. And I do believe that the school district is very flexible with what those hours can look like for you. But you can get a rebate for $599. The fire department also does provide that tax rebate, and I believe there's something in our policies for that. But you can also, not as a firefighter, but you can volunteer 200 hours of your time and receive that same tax credit of $599 through the fire department. So there are opportunities for our taxpayers to get some credits to help offset the costs of the taxes in our community. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Any other comments? I am looking forward to graduation. I believe the number was, what are we at, 314 or 324? 324 graduates. So for those that are not seniors graduating this year, I just want to remind you that school will start again before you know it on Thursday, August 21st. We'll look for you bright and early. Yeah. Just had to add that dig in there. Okay. If nothing else, our next meeting will be our voting meeting on Tuesday, June 17th at 7 p.m. There will be an executive session immediately following the adjournment of this meeting to discuss personnel in addition to active litigation. If there are no objections, we'll adjourn the meeting.